Since the beginning of time, there have been stories. Stories told in order to teach the highest and most valuable truths one has come to understand. So join me on an epic journey to hear those stories and discover the truth behind them. This is the Mythlore Cast. Well met, kinsmen. My name is AJ, and welcome to the Mythlore Cast. This is the first episode, and to be honest, I was unsure of what direction I wanted to go. With mythlore, there's mythology involved, there's lore of the mythology, there's going to be possibilities of exploring the lore of things like Tolkien's works or other modern mythologies, if you will. But I decided for the first episode, I'm going to talk about my own world. And if you're not familiar with me, which I'm sure if you're a new listener to this, you may not be, you might be a fan of other things that I do. I'm a heavy metal music producer, and my music is very much intertwined with my own fantasy stories. I have an album called Evil Wolf Chronicles that's basically like a heavy metal audiobook. But I'm currently working on crafting my own world called Adarha, and basically my own mythology, if you will, very heavily inspired by the works of people like Tolkien, and I was debating on exploring the lore of his world in the Silmarillion at some point in this podcast, because I know a lot of the lore, but I decided I'm gonna, do this with some of the lore that I have of my own world, just kind of as an experiment for getting this podcast sort of going, because I've been kind of putting it off for a while because I want it to be good, especially if I go into the lore of Tolkien. I want to be as accurate as I can in in sort of like telling the story from my perspective and things that I get from it and everything. But first, before I go into it, with each episode, I'm going to be recording a bonus episode, and it's going to be less about the story and more of my own thoughts and ideas on the story, the philosophy I pull from it, if you will, the truths, even, just whatever we could pull from the stories that we can use to add value to our own lives is basically what the bonus episodes are going to be like. So I haven't set it up yet, but there will be a Patreon page for this podcast, and it's not going to be expensive or anything, but I haven't set it up yet. I plan on recording a bonus episode at some point this week and adding that as giving it sort of an idea of what it's going to be like. And yeah, so and whenever I mention my own stories, to be honest, I don't have a lot. I have, bits and pieces, and I'm still crafting it. So, this is going to be sort of like a bonus episode, I guess, maybe. Well, I don't know. Just, you're kind of on the journey of this with me as I'm starting it. And I guess for this first episode, I'm going to be talking about sort of the beginning of my world. But, I'll at some point be getting into things like the works of Tolkien, the Silmarillion. I really want to go through. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Lots of stories, lots of lore, which is exciting. And I think I'll do these as sort of one-off episodes once in a while as I'm building this world. I've been in the process of sort of building it for a couple of years now. But I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of sprinkle in pieces here and there of my own lore, of my own world and everything. Because I'm currently working on a audiobook for my first one called The Evil Wolf Chronicles, which is based off the album I mentioned from my heavy metal project, Fire from Heaven. But yeah, I think I'll sprinkle those in here and there, and I'll work on getting some pieces together. Not pieces, podcasts that I'll do for. I think I want to go with the Silmarillion and Tolkien's world as the first mythology that we kind of delve into, if you will. But to get this podcast going, I'm going to share a bit of what I have. And yeah. So, this is a sort of a book of lore that I'm working on. Not necessarily a book of lore, but just sort of developing my world, building my world. I'm starting from the beginning. Not completely. Like I said, I have stories I've written here and there, sort of bits and pieces that I never intended to be in their own, like, completely own world, They were kind of just short little stories I wrote that have kind of grown. So, I wanted to build a world for them to take place on. You know what I mean? So, as I sort of wrote them a little bit, I had it in mind that I wanted to build this, my own mythology. So, the beginning of Adarha. Of all things, there is no beginning, for he has always been, and he is, but I will tell you of the beginning of my world. It is called Adarha, land of fire and ice, burning and freezing. It is a very dark and difficult world, yet also bright and beautiful, full of many wonders. Wonders are yet dark and dangerous. Like the Fire Drake Mountains, they would be like the South Mountains, but twice that size, and many other wonders that are both wonderful and horrible. So that's sort of an introduction to the beginning of this book, basically. I'm going to go ahead and keep reading what I have so far. I might just go till I'm out of what I have to read. The bonus episode for this episode, I'm going to be diving into what I mean by all of this. Not necessarily what I mean by it, but also sort of the ideas going into it, behind it, because I think all mythology, they all are a culture's way of expressing like their most valuable, highest truths that they've come to understand about the world. I think even Tolkien, some of the things that he deeply believed in, can be found in his works. whether he meant to put it there or not. As I wrote this, I didn't intentionally necessarily put this stuff there. It kind of just oozed out because it's very much part of me. So yeah, I'm going to keep going. This is the eternal wisdom of the great creator of all things, but never of a thing without two sides to it. Two sides that are completely opposite as it would seem in our ways, yet they make up one world, one creation of which all others come. The great creator who I dare fear to name, for he is far beyond understanding, I shall refer to him as Akolay, meaning great one in the tongues of old. I call him the great creator, for he is above the others whom he created for the purpose of carrying out his will and creating worlds. They are creators as well, and so are you and I, in our own way. He has many names in this world, but I believe they all reflect the same being that I don't fully understand. Some may name him but I dare not beyond the name Akolay, for there may be of the little I understand much more to be added to that, and with new understanding comes new and greater meaning. So again I say Akolay, great one. All creators are outside of what they create, yet everything they are is put into their creation, and that is all I can truly say of him that I know for certain. He is outside of this reality, yet his creation is a reflection of him as well. Alright, so yeah, I'm just kind of going into this character Akolay, this being that will be the creator of the world. And this, as I wrote this, I was trying to write it from a third-person perspective, in a way, from a character within the world itself. As if he's telling it to, like, say, his children around a fire or whatever. So, next part, I'll keep going. Before he spoke, there was naught but darkness and void and formlessness, and in that there was absence of light. Darkness much darker than you can ever imagine, and that darkness was called Umbraoth. It was a force that fought against Akolay, but Akolay had what Umbraoth did not, a voice, and he spoke into the void Umbraoth, and with it his light shone into the void, and there came into form a vast expanse of light, a great kingdom of light, and Akolay prevailed against Umbraoth, and the darkness fled as far as it could from the light, until it was outside where the light could reach, which was very far. But there Umbraoth still dwelt, and tried at times to push back against the light, but could not get very far. He could only reach into the bounds of light, with little arms never reaching very far. Akolay spoke again and made beings of the light, the Adradari warriors of light, and he gave them the great light to expand it as far as they could go, even to the farthest reaches of the kingdom where Umbraoth dwelt, taking the light there and pushing him back further and further, ever expanding. Akolay gave them their voices, all different in their own way. Some had strong, stern voices, others soft and gentle, and anything in between. Suddenly, Akolay spoke to the Adradari and said this: I give you this light and your own ability to create within the bounds of what you have. Go and multiply what I have given you tenfold, then tenfold again, as far as you can. So they began a great discourse of ideas and words of which they did not know or understand. So, that is all I have so far as a sort of introduction to the creation of the world. And I'm currently cultivating that still. Obviously, I'm growing that. And that is going to be all I share for today. But basically, to sum up the story, it's picture space with nothing. That's basically what it is. Except for light. In whatever form it may take, one light. One great light. And essentially that light has always been, is the idea. That being has always been. But so has the dark. But it's hard to explain what I'm picturing here because they're not part of the same thing. The dark is there, completely separated from the light. These two beings, dark and light, Akolay and Umbraoth. Akolay is looking, in a sense, down at Umbraoth. He's outside of the darkness. He's outside of this void. Where he is, I don't really know. But where he is, he's always been there. And he speaks out into this void. He struggles against this void till basically his voice projects light into this void. And essentially, whether it's revealing that a kingdom that was already there or creating a kingdom out of that, I haven't really developed yet. And the purpose I'm doing this is because I just want people to kind of see the journey of this. Whereas, I would give anything to hear Tolkien do something like this as he was cultivating and creating his world, just his thoughts and everything. So things might change as I do this, but essentially he's speaking into this void, and as he speaks, the light goes, in a sense. It's just this light force projecting from his mouth. And of course, I'm going to kind of picture this being as human because that's what I am. So it's sort of, he's a being with a mouth, obviously, that can speak and everything like we can. But he's far beyond that. He's this being, he's projecting a voice into this void. Both the void and the being have always been. But at some point, the being creates something. He speaks into the void, creates something. And that something is a kingdom of light. Now, it's not the actual world of Darha, like this world's version of Earth. It's sort of just like this, a picture of heaven, in a sense, what we think of as heaven, anyways. It's a kingdom in the clouds, in a sense, you know what I mean? Just picture now this void is no longer dark and empty and nothingness. It has something, and that something is this. It's just this random kingdom in the middle of a void, floating in the clouds. That's basically what it is. Great kingdom. Not a kingdom with obviously buildings or anything yet. Just kind of what you would see without civilization, everything, just nature. Everything in its rawest, most purest form, I guess. And then he speaks again and creates these beings. that are called the Adradari. They are the warriors of light. They are sort of co-creators that he sends to, he gives them a mission. This sort of kingdom of light is their base of operations, if you will. It's like their home. So first the mission is they go there and they build their kingdom. And then they're told to go out to as far as they can and expand the light that he has created here. Even though the light he has created here goes farther than we can imagine. Like, picture the sun and how far the light of the sun goes. Picture that, just how far the light of the sun reaches out into the rest of the universe. Picture that, basically. It's just light reaching out deep, deep, deep into the universe. That's how big the kingdom is that he gave them to start with. But he wants them to go even further with it, to build worlds, stars, all of that we see when we look up in the sky at night. And he told them, go out there, make more of what I've done here. So it's kind of like sort of like this first star, if you will. It's not like this burning sun of, lava and everything. It's just a source of light other than himself, I guess. Which it's other than himself, but it is himself. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain how I view this being because I don't fully understand him. As I say in the story, that's kind of I'm writing from a third-person perspective, but I'm writing my thoughts on this sort of truth that I've come to understand about the world I live in, which that's the kind of the thing that I'll go deeper into on the bonus episode. So, gives the Adradari a mission, a purpose, and they begin a discourse of ideas. And, they start speaking, and, you picture like a sort of, what's it called? Like a brainstorming session with, several people, whether it's in a band or whatever, or business, they're all having a brainstorming session. There's this problem we need to solve. How are we going to solve it? There's this problem of we need to get out there further. We need to expand what we've been given. We need to develop it. We need to cultivate what we've been given. How are we going to do this? So they start, it's a discourse of ideas. And all the Adradari, contribute their own unique ideas and plans and stuff, and how they're going to cultivate, take the light further into their sort of part of the universe that they're supposed to go into, basically. And I haven't really written down a number of the Adradari or their characteristics or their names or anything. That's something I'm going to be working on next. But yeah, that's as far as I've really gotten here. And the mission is push the darkness back further and further and further. This void, this emptiness, is basically this idea that nothingness, this void of darkness and nothingness, is not good. It needs to be filled. It's basically the idea here, I guess. And they are like warriors of light. They are sent to push back the darkness as far as they can. And that's sort of like a picture of like the beginnings of before Akolay created them. He was pushing back against the darkness himself. He was reaching down into this void that he was not a part of, that he is outside of, that even he is still outside of this kingdom he's created. Like we are outside of the things we create, yet the deeper truth is we are intertwined with it. We are woven throughout it too. I write music and things I believe, things I do, it's all sewn into my music, even though my music is something outside of me in a sense, you know what I mean? Or if I draw a picture, it's something outside of me, but it's a reflection of me. That's basically what is going on here. This great creator, this Akolay, this being is outside of this creation. He's reaching into the void, speaking into the void, and his voice is projecting light. That's what created the kingdom. I'm kind of like repeating myself, but I'm basically cultivating my ideas as I talk about it here. But in the bonus episode, I'm going to go a little bit deeper onto what some of these ideas mean. And maybe a little bit deeper meaning of my perception of who these characters are in my own world, I guess. And stay tuned for more episodes. I may do more of this, of my own world, till I have something ready as far as delving into the Silmarillion with Tolkien. I'm really glad that you joined me, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna do the bonus episode. I haven't created the Patreon yet, the Patreon page where the bonus episodes will be available, but I will be doing that soon, and I will be calling it the Mythlore Cast on Patreon, unless that's taken. But you'll hear more on the next episode, so just stay tuned for more. Thank you for joining and listening. See you later.